Hey guys, welcome to another episode with Dr. Latifat, aka MoneyfitMD. How are you guys doing today? I hope you're doing fantastic. I'm excited about this episode. I am so excited about it because it is probably something that you've never heard before, or at least not presented the way that I'm about to share with you guys. So, for those that haven't met me, I'm Dr. Latifat. I'm a GI doctor. I'm a mama of three ladies and the founder of MoneyfitMD, which is where we teach women physicians how to have money, grow their wealth, and create the time and financial freedom that they truly deserve. So, everything we do here on the podcast and also inside of the Money School for Badass Women Physicians is all about that. So, if you're a woman physician that's listening to this episode and you're like, Latifat, I want to build my money, I want to build my life, and I want to do that with support so that I can accelerate my growth and shorten the time between now and the success that I want, then I would love to chat with you. And the way you can do that is simply go to moneyfitmd.com. At the very top, you can see the link that says connect with us, and you will be able to schedule a call. Actually, it says, I think it's work with me. You will be able to schedule a call there, and we'll look forward to chatting with you. So, today's episode is going to be about the pros and cons of actually the pros of playing small, the advantages of playing small, but we're also going to talk about the advantages of choosing to live a life that's prosperous or playing big. And the reason why this is important is that I've now had the honor of coaching hundreds and hundreds of women physicians. And I have to say that it's so important to know what game you're playing and play the game that you want well. So I'll give you an example. Last year in 2023, I quit my job as a GI doctor and decided that I was going to travel with my family. So my husband and our three little ladies, we traveled. We did 20 countries within a year, and it was the most amazing thing ever. And I have to tell you that one of the decisions that I made while traveling was that this is my investment in our life for this year. And what that means is that I am willing to spend on this trip without shame, without guilt. And so if you look at a lot of our spending last year, it was flights, hotels, and it was eating out, right? That was our last year, and it was amazing. It was awesome. I would do it again in a heartbeat, right? But that was the game that we're playing last year. If now in 2024 that we're back home, living our lives, thank God, doing well, doing the things we're meant to do, if I look at our spending and it's travel, if it's flights, hotels, and eating out, we got a problem, right? Because that's not the game that we're playing in 2024. So you have to be aware of the game that you're playing so that you can enjoy where you are without guilt. And what I find is that sometimes when you don't decide the game that you're playing, there is guilt, there is shame. You're not really giving yourself the permission to enjoy where you are 100%. And that's just a waste of time, right? I mean, if you're going to be bad, might as well enjoy being bad. That's I'm just saying, if you're going to spend, enjoy it. If you're going to live, enjoy it. So being aware of the season that you're in is one of the most important and powerful things. And what that meant for us was that in 2023, I could say no to things that were not in line with how we wanted to spend our time, our money, our attention, and all of that stuff. And there was no missing out. There was no FOMO. So I don't want you to have FOMO one way or the other. So I want to talk about what are the advantages of staying small. And the other reason why this may be helpful for you is that when you finally understand the advantages that you have not been acknowledging, it may make sense to you why you are resisting going to the next level, why you're like, paddling on the same spot. Nothing is changing, not because there's something wrong with you. Maybe it's because you're getting benefits from this season that sort of like is holding you from letting yourself go into the abundance and prosperity that's available for you. And if you know anything about my world, zero shame, zero guilt, right? So if you're going to be bad, just own it and enjoy it. And if you're going to be good, go ahead with your good self or your bad self, like whatever, right? So I'll kind of break this down into 5 points. And so I'm going to talk about the 5 benefits that you may be benefiting from playing small. And for you, it may make sense now that we're bringing what may be unconscious or subconscious, if we're not making it conscious, it may make sense to you why you have been maybe jeopardizing your opportunity for growth by not looking at your finances, by not getting the support that you need, by buying the book and not reading the book, by not getting the coaching that you need, by avoiding the communities and telling yourself stories like, I am busy, when you and I know it ain't because you're busy. I like to remind people that we're in different seasons of our lives, and there are times when it just may be not a good time. However, I also like to remind people that as a woman physician that was pretty much full time, clinical GI with 3 kids, with 6 siblings that apparently like to talk to me, I like talking to them too. My sisters are and my brother, they're interesting. Like, even my mom is. I lost my dad a couple years ago, and even my mom is interesting. Literally, she called me, I don't know, yesterday and was like, "Oh, it's been a long while." I was like, "Mommy, I just talked to you a few days ago and you told me you were hanging out with friends." But it's all love, right? The reason why I tell that to you is my time is spent. We have, MoneyfitMD, we have Soxy Doc, we have the book Done with Broke, we have the podcast that I do here. I also have a second podcast that I don't talk to you guys much about. It's one that I do with my husband. It's a faith-based podcast that talks about like how to have a relationship that is anchored in God and building your home and literally living an uncommon life. It's called Anchored in Christ. I don't talk a lot about it, but it's something that we do and release every week. We host a prayer call every morning, Mondays through Saturdays from 5:30 Pacific time to about 6:20 or 6:30 Pacific time. We host a small group, and at the time of this recording that I'm doing, we are actually in the middle of a mini series on relationship and like marriage by the book, by the Bible. It's called, there's a book we're going through, but we literally are leading that mini series. It's like a 4 weeks mini series that we're leading, and it's been amazing. Last time we met was literally a couple of days ago. Do I say literally a lot? Sorry, y'all. I think so. All right. I'll watch out for that because literally is about to be dumped. Anyways, I just realized that right now. However, we just did a couple of days ago the second of 4 series, and it was amazing. We had almost 30 screens, and many of the screens had 2 people on there. So almost 30 couples, which was like so amazing. It was so, so good. Anyways, the reason why I share that, oh, and we have real estate as well. We have real estate that we do, and we do sleep. We have a date every week, maybe sometimes twice a week. The bottom line is time is something that no one has. We all just learn how we want to utilize it, and you get to use it however way you choose. Or time, like an infant, will do whatever he wants to do. Time, like an infant, time, like money. If you don't get into the seat as a CEO of your finances, it's just going to keep doing whatever it wants to do. So the reason why I share that is those are the excuses we give ourselves that we don't have time, when we need to ask better questions like, how can we, right? How can we? There were seasons in our lives where I remember my husband was like, babe, we're at capacity. And it required changing our mindset, restructuring, creating systems, leveraging our time, and getting other people to, paying people to leverage their time in order to be able to create what we want to create. So now we're like, we're doing great, which I'm excited about. And there's going to be seasons of this where we're reevaluating, restructuring, dropping things, leveraging, getting people to partner with us, and maybe people that we pay. But the bottom line is there is a way. If there's a will, there is a way, and there is a way. So the real reason why you may be playing small, number one, is that it feels comfortable. It feels comfortable, and there ain't nothing wrong with that. It feels comfortable. And let's just acknowledge that maybe the challenges you have right now are familiar to you. You're like, I never have money. I'm familiar with that. Oh, I have a lot of cash and I just never invest, and I have money scarcity and I never negotiate. And you're familiar with the same problems. You're familiar with where not looking at your finances. You're familiar with not having a lot. You're familiar with playing small. It's just maybe living the 7 to 6 life just feels comfortable for you. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I think it's important for us to acknowledge this, because when you acknowledge the truth of where you are, you acknowledge the truth of why you may be playing small, then you get to decide if you want to move forward or not, and acknowledging what you're leaving behind and what you're going to. So number one is playing small may be predictable and your life as is, and your problems may be comfortable and familiar for you. So Maybe you don't want to ditch them, and that's okay. Just know the game that you're playing and stop pretending that this is not the game that you're playing. Number two is that it feels honestly sometimes easier because you don't have to feel bad for saying no. For example, someone comes to you right now and they're like, Latifat, we have this thing we're doing, we have this opportunity. Would you like to donate? I wish I could, but I don't have money. It's easier than to say, I don't believe in this, or this is not where I would like to spend right now, or it's just not a good time for this opportunity, right? You just may find it easier to say, to not want to feel bad. And so it's easier for you to say, I don't have money or I don't have time. Because when you have freedom of time, when you have availability of time, then you really just are going to have to tell the truth of what you really think. And maybe what you think is, I don't want to spend time with you like this. I remember when I first started my flexible work hours, my sister, who I absolutely love my siblings, and she's probably listening to this episode, and I'm gonna get a text from her, like, "Why are you talking to me on your podcast? Why?" Yeah, just like that. You're annoying. She's not. I love her to pieces. I'm expecting her today as we speak. She's gonna be decluttering my home. I can't wait. I love it when she comes to visit because my house just gets periodic decluttering. Get yourself a sister like that. Anyways, the thing is this: when I first started my flexible schedule, she literally would go, "So you don't see patients on this specific days, on this specific days?" I'm like, "Yeah." And then she would call me on those days. And I was like, "Child, those days off is not for you." The fact, she's like, "Why didn't you pick up your phone?" I'm like, that time was not meant for you, right? So now I got to be honest about the fact that I just don't want to talk to you on that time because I'm doing something else that I'm choosing to do. But before, it may have been easier to say, I don't have time. I don't have time. I'm busy. I'm busy. So maybe you don't want to feel bad. And so you're easier to have no time to be busy. And it's easier for you to have no extra money to give because you're like, I don't have money. And you just like the sound of that. Even though you earn multiple six figures and maybe you earn seven figures, it's just easier for you to say, I don't have money because you don't want to face the truth of the fact that maybe people pleasing is something that you need to work on. Ouch. I know. By the way, if you like this episode, I want you to, if you're watching on YouTube, I want you to type a comment and let me know what you're taking away in the chat box. And if you're listening on the podcast, I would really love it if you left us a review. Number 3 point is that kind of along the same lines as what I just talked about. It's the fact that you can avoid hard conversations. What do I mean by that? Avoiding hard conversations of what you don't want or what you're doing with your time, right? So, for example, I remember, I believe it was 2 years ago, where someone had messaged me and asked if I wanted to donate to something. And the people pleasing part of me wanted to say yes, but I knew that the reason why I was doing it was for a wrong reason. Right. So if I did not have money, if I'm like, the struggle is real, sorry, I don't have money. You know how it is. I got student debt. You know how it is. I got 3 kids. It makes it easier to avoid hard conversations, right? It makes it easier to avoid bigger conversations like how to protect my assets, what are my ethics and morals about finances and different kinds of investments, right? It's easier to say I don't have versus like I don't want to. So, for example, when I think about like our finances, our real estate, the business, right? There is organizing that has to be done when it comes to that so that it's not overwhelming. There may be moments of overwhelm, but remember, overwhelm is usually what comes before resolution, right? Before clarity. Overwhelm is the precursor to clarity. So, overwhelm by itself is not a problem because after that comes clarity if you do the right things. So, avoiding hard conversations may be something that you want, and maybe that's why you're playing small, because then you don't have to justify to your spouse why you're spending on assets. Now you don't have to have hard conversations about why your spouse's spending habit is not sustainable for where you're trying to go. You can avoid hard conversations like teaching your kids about money. And not that you don't want them to learn about money, but now you have to face your own limiting beliefs. You have to face the stories that you're telling yourself. You have to face some of your own baggage because remember, you know, I remember in med school when we have all those books we have to study and all that, right? And one of the things we would say is that it is you don't truly know until you can explain to someone else. And when you have kids that are learning from you, or nephews or nieces that you're teaching, or colleagues or fellows or residents, you will get hung up on where there is no clarity in you. So if you're someone that's playing small and avoiding opportunities like that, then you don't have to have those conversations. You don't have to have hard conversations. You don't have to feel like you are, there's maybe something you need to work on. Maybe you're someone that does not like to look at yourself because you don't have your own back. Maybe you shame yourself for what you don't know. So you may just be avoiding things because you don't want to know. And there's nothing wrong with you. I want you to acknowledge that and own it like a boss, so that when you're ready and you can actually look at all those factors and go, okay, all of this is true. And what is also true is that I'm ready to leave this behind and move to the things that I actually want, so that I can have the life that I want. So that is number 3. Number 4 advantage of playing small is this. This one is for those of you guys that are faith based. And I know my audience, not all of you guys are. So this one is for those that are faith based. This is going to sound funny. You can pray for people instead of actually being the solution to their problems. Instead of meeting their needs, you can say, oh, I'll pray for you that your rent will be taken care of. I'll pray for you that food will magically appear on your table. And so now you're just doing the religious thing by deciding that you want to pray for people instead of meeting the needs, as if you cannot pray and meet the needs. And again, zero shame, zero judgment. But I want you to know where you may be comfortable in, where you may be, so that again, if this is the season where you're like, you know what, Latifa, I'm good with this. This is kind of like the capacity that I have. Then I want you to stay here playing small. But this is the reason why you may be enjoying where you are. So stop kind of fooling yourself by telling yourself that you want something else when what you actually want is this. So own it, own it, own it, own it. It's like, there are times when I don't want to do things, and I'm going to own it, that, you know what, this season, I'm just going to suck at this. And I think I've done podcast episodes on this in the past where I say things like, you know what am I going to suck at this week? And there's nothing wrong with that. This may just be what you want to suck at. And then the last but not the least is that the advantage of playing small is you can fit in. 90% of our population they get joy and shared experience of community from having the same struggle. And the struggle of, how are you doing? It's Monday. Everybody understands that, because that's how 90% of our population lives. How are you doing? Thank God it's Friday. Finally, we're free, right? Another shared hustle that many people, 90% of the population have, is, you know how it is. It's so not easy. All the kids' activities that we're just doing, going around with the kids, you know how that is. Shared struggle. Again, nothing wrong with playing small and choosing to fit in, but there is comfort in belonging. And so you may just feel like this may just be you belonging in society. And honestly, I will be honest with you, as someone that has chosen to live an uncommon life, especially when we first started and decided that we did not want to hate Mondays, we did not want to live our lives for Fridays, and did not want to dread Sunday nights, which meant living our lives and reconstructing our lives, right? Meaning living by choice, choosing to work by choice, being grateful that I get to instead of I have to, or I don't have a choice, right? The small things that actually can affect our mindset and our ability to do or not do. So at first, it was only because we didn't know people like us locally. I started having people virtually like us, and slowly but surely, we started having more people like us around. So if you're like, I don't want to stand out this way, it is easier for me to fit in with everybody else. Just know that I hear you, I feel you, and I'm sending you virtual hugs right now, because it is what it is. This is where you are. But I don't want you to be inside of a room that you're choosing to be in and looking longingly outside of the window. If you're going to be in the play small room, then play small. So the next part of this is going to be the upside of abundance. And maybe, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to stop this right now, and we're going to go to the next, we'll make this the next episode that we're going to record, because I want to make sure that this is not too long. I want you to sit down and actually ask yourself this question. Maybe this is why I've been playing small. Maybe this is why I haven't asked for help. Maybe this is why I'm really not looking at my finances and not challenging my own status quo. Maybe this is the reason why I'm not negotiating. Maybe this is the reason why I'm telling myself stories about my life, about why the status quo is so amazing, because the truth is, I like it here. I like playing small. I like playing small. And for some of you guys, this is where you stop. And there's some other ones that are like, Latifat, wow, I had no idea. Now I see myself. I see that this is the reason why it's been hard. This is the reason why I keep thinking I'm doing something, but really just like, it's like you're in one room with your body and your head is outside of the room. Like you put in your head into abundance, but your entire body you're living in plain small. Right. And you're like, how do I get from here? How do I go from here? I think the first step is just acknowledging everything we've talked about so far. And then maybe there is a gratitude or grief process of like grieving what was, because the fact that you go into somewhere bigger, greater, and more abundant does not mean that you cannot grieve where you're coming from. And it's okay to grieve the fact that, men, the days of the staying comfortably small is not aligning with where I know I'm supposed to be. It's not aligning with my future. And when I look at my future, I know that if I stay here, I'm going to regret staying here. And I've had to make those decisions, even with my business with MoneyfitMD, like the seasons of growth that we've had. Every season, and everybody with a business that's successful will tell you this, that when you're in a room, at some point, that room, you get comfortable in the room. And there's nothing wrong with being comfortable, but when you know every single fiber of your being, your God, God, everything is calling you for more, you know that you have no choice. That's literally how I felt when I started MoneyfitMD. I did not want to have a business. I did not want to be an entrepreneur. I did not want to be talking on a podcast. I did not want to be doing videos or talking on stages because I had a lot of fear about those. I thought I was not good. I thought it was going to be hard. My brain just painted all the bad pictures of what was going to happen to me, to my life, to my kids, our privacy, like all this, like stories, elaborate stories I told myself. But then I knew that I had no choice, because when you have the tools, I had the tools that I have to educate women about their money, their life, and their freedom, to liberate women physicians so that they can have the life that they were born to live. How will I stare at a woman that is earning multiple six figures and seven figures and still not be free, still not free? How can I look at her, know that I have the tools, and not help her? It's literally like having the medications to resuscitate a life and saying no. I had literally had no choice. But I had to understand that I was playing small. I had to go through this process that I just described to you guys. I had to grieve the spot that the season is going. But I know, and I had to open the window and have the belief and faith that there's so much more that's coming. And boy, oh boy, am I glad that I did. The life I live currently is not perfect, but it's amazing. The women that I get to meet, last week I was at two events. I spoke in San Diego to a group of conference for hem-onc doctors. It was amazing. I got to speak at a conference in Arizona. It was amazing. I hosted like a money circle as part of the bigger conference. It was amazing listening to the speakers, engaging with the women, teaching the women. It was so, so powerful, right? The book that I wrote, the book that I'm writing. I know I may be writing a second book. That may have just been a little announcement. I wasn't planning on it, but y'all know now. If you heard that little pic, send me a message on Facebook or Instagram and say, congratulations, Latifa, you're writing your second book. And if you haven't read the first one yet, it's called Done with Broke, The Woman Physician's Guide to More Money and Less Hustle. It's available on Amazon and also on Audible. You can get it on those platforms. But the bottom line is it's time for change. And if you're here, I'm excited for you. By the way, if you are like Latifa, I'm ready to go all in. I've been listening to the podcast, I've been doing all this stuff, and it is time for us to go all in. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually invite you to do this. I would like to offer you a complimentary call that we offer as part of the a benefit that we offer to women physicians that are interested, invested, and ready to grow their life and build their freedom. All you have to do is send the word or send a text to this number 717 973 8883, 717 973-8883. And the word you're going to text to that number is audit, AUDIT. If you do that, and your woman physician will ask you a couple of questions just to make sure that, you're someone that would benefit from that time with us. And let's schedule a complimentary call with one of our team members, and let's see how we can help you say yes to the life of prosperity, the life of freedom, the life of more that you are called to live. And if you're like Latifat, it is not time yet. I want to stay small for a little season. Just know that I'm giving you virtual hugs right now because I know exactly what that is. And when you're ready to lift your head up, when you're ready to rise above, when you're ready to, for lack of a better term, resurrect from that, we'll be here to support you. Just save that number. Again, I want to make sure you have it. It is 717-973-8883. Thank you guys so much. I hope this episode has been of value to you. If you're listening on YouTube, don't forget to leave a comment. If you're listening on the podcast, I would love it. Please leave a review. I really, really would appreciate it. And yes, text it to another woman physician that you know is playing small and maybe needs to leave that room or needs to just acknowledge and enjoy the room she's in. I love you guys so much. I'll see you in the next episode. Goodbye.